Honor by choice. Basically starts off with this young kid who is very into karate. His parents take him to karate. He actually becomes highly ranked and a competitive child. Very good, black belt and all that. Well, one day he's in a championship fight and he gets hit in the back of the neck and he becomes paralyzed. So this whole family environment of cheering him on and all that, when his injury happens, kind of tears the family apart. They do whatever they can to pay the bills and they kind of split. It just becomes very hard on the family. They have a live-in maid so the mom can work in order to pay the bills. The kid basically grows up in the bed his whole life. He sees things looking out the window, kids going to school and all that, and playing, but his whole life is taken from him because of one act. And the act was actually an illegal hit from behind the head. The dad of the Asian kid told him in between one of the sets how to hit him, where the ref couldn't see it, and it basically, just with anybody, you get hit the wrong way and it does damage. So basically this kid took this other kid's life. So he's in the bed growing up until he gets older. The only person he really knows is the maid that takes care of him, because she's there all the time, because the parents are working to pay all the bills and they're pretty much losing their house and everything. The dad passes away, and then as the kid gets older and older, the only person he really has is his mom, and she pretty much works herself to death. When she passes away and he finds out, he is so distraught and angry that he's trying to tear up his bed and actually falls out of his bed. But something happens to him to where he starts to get feeling in his legs, which kind of sucks, because one, his whole life is just in that bed, and then when he loses his whole life, which is the last of his parents, then he finally gets, or starts to get, his legs back. But as it's called, honor by choice, is because the fighting is what caused his whole life to be taken away. Yes, it was an accident. Well, it wasn't an accident, but you know what I mean. One event changed his whole life. So he basically has nothing because they used all the money to take care of him. He's got nowhere to go or nothing like that. So basically the only person that cares enough about him to take him in is the woman that's been taking care of him. And she is a black lady she lives in a really rough neighborhood. She has a daughter and family that he didn't even know about, but he's basically brought into this bad environment. And he stands out because he's a white kid who is shouldn't be there. So naturally people are going to pick fights with him, but he refuses because he knows his whole life got taken away from him by that. Now the kid / guy still has skills, but the problem is he lost so much from that he just refuses. Doesn't matter how tough they are, doesn't matter what they do, he is not going to fight no matter what, which causes even bigger problem, because when people are trying to egg you on, tease you and push you into something and you won't do it, it becomes more of a challenge. And especially since that he's hanging out and kind of really likes the daughter of the maid, that just puts a bigger target on his back. Now, on the other side, the Asian kid grew up very violent, very mean. That whole life-changing thing that he did affected him mentally, to where when you pick it up and you see him, he's actually in the gym fighting somebody in the ring, and they actually have to pull him off because he has very violent tendencies. And mainly he's got internal anger with himself. His dad isn't around anymore, but it was still the choices that just tears him up inside. Well, he finds out about the guy, so he actually goes to see him. And with his thing, even though he did the illegal hit, there is certain honor that he still believes in, and he believes he owes the guy, so he is going to pretty much be his bodyguard. Which there's a great scene in the script to where he shows up and there's a whole bunch of gang members that, you know, ain't gonna like this Chinese guy either. And they basically put a gun to his face and tell him he better leave, and he just says no. He is like the toughest of the tough. You know, he dares anybody because he's very skilled too. But he's also not a death wish, but he's got that violence that he needs to actually cure or console in his body. So yeah, if you wanted to fight with somebody, he'd definitely be the one to fight. Which becomes like an odd couple, because the one guy don't want to see him, doesn't want him around, definitely ain't going to fight the Chinese guy. The Chinese guy is going to be around to protect him, I guess cure his soul a little bit. And so basically it becomes everybody's trying to take out everybody or come after everybody. Now there's an uncle of the boy who he knows about that comes back into the picture. He's been out of the picture. He saw how his sister was, you know, running down. He kept giving money for the kid, but the problem is he's got a little bit of inside stuff to deal with too, because not only was he not there, he couldn't stand to see the kid like that, because he was at the tournaments. He was cheering on for his nephew and stuff like that, but it tore him up to where he stayed away. He was basically a boxer, didn't make it that far, but liked to fight. So then when his nephew is, you know, young and in a competitive thing, he was all there. But the injury affected all of them in different ways, and he pulled away. The maid actually finds him because he is the kind of legal guardian. The kid's almost 18 or is 18, so he really doesn't need the guy, but he is a family member, so she's trying to connect them back together. The uncle comes into play. He's a tough Italian guy. Yeah, he don't take kindly to being pushed around, and he does kind of think that he's tougher than he probably was in his younger years. You know, he's one of them older people that's like, hey, let's do it, and then finds out, whoa, I need to warm up, my body ain't working too well. But they go and actually see him because the maid woman wants to get all of them out of there. There was too much anger and animosity and all this boiling between everybody, and she was afraid somebody's going to get shot, somebody's going to get killed, because at one point she needs to go to a grocery store down the street, and the kid said, hey, I'll walk down and get it, you know, because he likes being out. And she's like, you can't go out there, they're already mad at you and try to track you down. And naturally he says he'll take the Asian guy because, you know, if they're going to try to kill him, they shoot him, as jokingly. But actually they do, and they get confronted really bad, and this is why she wants to get them out of there before some bad stuff really happens. They do get and actually come after him at the uncle's, which isn't that far off. So then it becomes a really problem, because this is not just, she can't just take him out and then everything will be okay. Actually what happens is they come and they try to like burn down the house and stuff like that with him in it. Because before that he's actually at a convenience store, and he has no choice. I mean, they're going to shoot the girl or shoot him. Refuses to fight, you know, because the things can happen. But when your life's on the line, you got to actually stand up. And he does, and he actually, to what I remember, you could read the script, it's been a long time. He hurts the main gang member, and that's why they come back and burn the house down. They think they kill him because he's the one that doesn't get out. But because of his death, they all kind of rally around and build like a community center for the youth and stuff like that to try to get them off the street. Even the uncle's there, Asian guy who actually kind of starts having the hots for the teenage daughter of the maid. But everybody's there, and they're trying to actually rebuild the community in this really violent area, because what sparks is supposedly his death. But in the script, he didn't die. They just don't know it. But he knows, okay, everybody was trying to take him in, everybody was trying to take care of him, And yeah, he didn't have nowhere to go, but his troubles were pulling everybody down. So he elects to leave at the end. But it's funny because actually he's at a bus stop, and the person that sees him is the guy that owns, the old black guy that owns the convenience store, who saw him, knock out or actually he severely hurt the gang member. I mean, like pretty much paralyzed him with a punch. So he sees him at a bus stop, and he sees other people coming over to kind of either rob him or whatever. So the old guy actually intervenes with a gun and gets them away. But he doesn't tell anybody, and the guy just gets on the bus and kind of leaves. He understands, because it's the same thing you find out about the convenience store guy is he pretty much is just trying to go about his life too. Everybody around, there's always somebody that's trying to push you out of your life. And sometimes it's your own self that hurts other people, and that's why the guy had to move on. But it was cool because, like I said, his presence, his honor of standing up, no, I'm not going to do this, it ruined my life, spawned everybody into building something out of his honor, which was the rec center, and what was going to now help a lot of people. So that's honor by choice. It's not easy not to fight, especially if you have the ability to fight, which he did, but he lost a lot of his life because of it. The fear of going back in that bed will make anybody think twice. But like I said, there's going to be occasions to where you're going to have no choice. But that's still a choice.